What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I am back with another review of The Bachelor. This is season 25, episode 2. Oh my gosh, let's go ahead and break this episode down because I have a lot of opinions. So we start the episode off with, a little montage of Matt running and talking about all his emotions and feelings. And the only thing that kept bothering me was that shower scene. And he just kept rubbing water on his body. I'm just like, where is the soap? Where is your washcloth? Sir, I'm going to need for you to be black and know how to use a washcloth. I know it doesn't exactly fit the aesthetic of what they're going for, but I just was not feeling it. But anyways, we did see that all the ladies gathered around. And there were going to be 3 dates. 1 group date and 2 solo dates. And who got the first solo date? Bree. And I like her. After their date, I really liked Bree. So their date was actually really fun and adventurous because they rode ATVs. And at one point, they got on the ATV together and he's like riding around and slipping and sliding and they even fall off. And I'm just like, okay, this is, fun. It's cute. It's exciting. But while they're having all this fun, the ladies are in the same room that they were in, just chatting about, how they're feeling now that one girl is on a solo date. And everyone's, taking it as well as they could. Like, I'm happy for Bree, glad she got to go on the first date. Trying to protect their own feelings. Oh, but here comes Victoria. She's like, well, I don't know Bree like that. I'm not friends with her like that, but I wanted that date. And it's like, do you really think that all these women are sitting up here not wanting to go on a date with Matt? Like, I don't understand why she just has to be such a rude individual. She was really lashing out. Like, Victoria was acting like a 12-year-old, actually not even 12-year-old, like a 5-year-old who's not getting their way. Like, relax. You didn't get the first date. It's going to be okay. If he doesn't choose to take you out on a date. But she was going to be okay. We even saw her a little bit later within this time frame, and she was still like talking to the other girls about how if they felt like, Bree getting the first date was a good thing, that they were fake and they were losers and all these things. And I'm like, why are you name calling? These women haven't done anything to you. I understand that it's a competition, but like, she just has a terrible attitude, and I hate how entitled she is. And as this episode continued, I just got more frustrated with her. Back to the date, though. We do see Matt and Bree. They're in like a hot tub. And I can't lie, he really got on my nerves how many times he apologized for falling off of the ATV. I'm like, okay, can you get, some conversation going? Ask her where she grew up or something, because I feel like he apologized about that at least a good 4 times. Like, Matt, get it together. So later in the evening, when they had the second part of their date, though, they did have a deeper conversation because he asked her about, her mom and her dad growing up. And she talked about how her mom actually had her at 13. So while she was growing up, it was always just her and her mom. Her mom didn't do anything like that, probably until Bree got to be an adult. And now that, Bree is grown, her mom is now pregnant. She's getting married. And Bree doesn't exactly know where she fits in to that family, just because it's very different now that, she's gotten older. Her mom started to live, a life that she has never seen before. And when she ends up talking about her dad, she talks about how he wasn't around, and her and Matt connect on that level because, as we know, his dad also, stepped away from the family, as well as just being responsible for his children. And I will say that, like, them bonding in that moment, I was like, okay, I can see this working. Like, I can see them, really trying hard to, put in that effort to make things work. And also when they talked about how, they gravitated towards their friends that had, a family and a large family. I was like, wow, I've never heard anyone say that, but it's really interesting. And Matt ends up giving her a rose that night. The night for them actually ends with fireworks going off. And of course, the other ladies can see the fireworks happening because they're all in the same place. And you already know who started up the mess yet again. Victoria. She starts up again about, how she didn't get the first date and blase. She even gets into it with Marilyn, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her name at the moment. She ends up getting into it with her about this. And it's like, girl, now you're just really being nitpicky, and you are, letting the audience know that you're just here to be seen. Like, I don't think Victoria is actually interested in Matt. I think that she just wants to be famous and wants people to talk about her, on social media. So after this, we learn who is going on the group date, and I believe they named off like 18 ladies. It was like a lot of them whose names got called. So when we actually get to the group date, though, they are basically doing a photo shoot where the ladies had, I believe, like 10 minutes to get ready with a wedding dress on, headpiece, all of that, a veil, so that they could have a photo shoot of what it would look like if they got married. I must say, I thought this was such a corny challenge, but whatever. Now, when it comes to the ladies and what I thought of some of the looks, just because we only saw like a handful, I did take notice in Yesenia, like the strapless dress that she had on, super cute. I thought it looked really good on her. Her and Matt ended up kissing when they were doing their photo shoot. Serena P, she looked really good too with Matt. Her dress was really simple, but it looked really great on her. Kayla, I don't think I really saw too much of her dress, but I did like that she was like giving Matt direction of like, move your head like this, turn like this, so that the pictures would come out good. Even though I feel like all the pictures that were posted up for like us to see what they looked like, they did not choose the best photos that were taken, unless that photographer was just snapping and not really trying to get a good shot. Or am I the only one who thinks that? So then we have Mari up there, and she looked really pretty, and she's taking her photos with Matt, and out of nowhere, here comes Victoria trying to ruin the moment. And she's like, the royal wedding or whatever she kept yelling out. And it's like, girl, wait your turn. You can wait your turn. So like the photographer is like, okay, let them go ahead and finish. And then, we're going to move on to the next lady. So the photographer, he calls up the next lady, which was Piper. And here goes Victoria again. And she's like, what about the royal wedding? We need to take the photos for the royal wedding. And it's like, girl, sit down somewhere. So we then see the photographer taking the photos of Victoria and Matt. And she has like a garter belt on. And she's just so extra. And it's like, girl, you don't have to do this. Like, we already don't like you. Also, am I the only one who noticed the transition of Victoria looking older and older within every scene that we saw her? So after, the shoot with Victoria, Chris ends up coming up, and he's like, okay, so we're gonna, switch things up. And keep in mind, half of the girls did not get any time with Matt. They didn't even get photos taken. Now they had to have like this competition where they were broken off into two teams. And honestly, it just looked like the girls were just running around, throwing paint on each other. Boring. I believe it was the red team that won. And Mari, she got MVP, even though she was on the other team. I think that's how that went. But anyways, the thing about it is that a lot of the other girls who were on that other team got no time with Matt. So rather it had been from them meeting him and talked for a few minutes on the first night, or them, the only time they met him or spoke to him was when they got out of the limo. A lot of people have not talked to this man yet. And I'm like, is this how this show always goes? And like, I have never, watched The Bachelor before, but I don't understand how there are women that have yet to talk to him. That's weird to me. So now we get to a smaller group date, which consists of all of whoever was on the red team. And we see him actually, I think they were having dinner together. And then he pulled Lauren aside. And Lauren is stunning, you guys. She is so beautiful. I believe she's an attorney. She's really smart. And, they just talked about leading a relationship with God in mind, just building their relationship and keeping their beliefs while they're building a relationship. And I was like, wow, he actually connected with her on that level, because he did say that he has never done that before. He's never, led with God, being the forefront of what he has to say or what he's trying to get with the girl, because usually that's a turnoff for some people. And I'm like, okay, well, now you see that this girl is trying to show you something different. You should definitely keep her around. You know what I'm saying? We also see him have a conversation with Yesenia, and she's talking about how, she's been through infidelity and how she has trust issues and all this stuff. They ended up kissing. Then we get like a quick scene where we see that another note was given to the ladies that's at the house, and we learned that Sarah is going to be going on a solo date, which I like Sarah. She's really sweet, and her story is very interesting. But back to this group setting. We do see that he talks to Victoria, and, she talks about how she has insecurities, and he's like, yeah, well, those are the things that I love about you, because you're just being yourself. And I'm just like, she's a rude bitch, okay? And that's what you love, Matt? Okay, great. But he ends up giving Lauren the rose. And I'm like, all right, Lauren, I see you. So maybe there might be some more love connections with those two on the next episode. But of course, who's over there pouty? Victoria. She feels so entitled. Like, she is like an entitled brat. Like, honestly, I thought that we were going to see that with Kit, just because Kit's mom is, a famous designer. I'm pretty sure she's used to getting her way about things. But Victoria, she takes it to a whole nother level. So we then see Sarah. She has her date because it's the next day, and they ended up flying in like a small little plane. And I mean, it was very adventurous, same as what he did with what's her name, Bree. I like that he does do some things that are out of the box and fun. So when they are having a conversation, though, he started to ask about her family, and she was very hesitant talking about her dad. She was just saying how, like, she's really close with her mom and she's super close to her dad, but she didn't really go into detail at the beginning of that date until dinner. And she's like, it's hard for me to really open up about this, but I quit my job to be a caregiver to my dad. And, sometimes I'm questioning if this was the right decision for me to come on the show to, try to find love. Also, she tells him that her dad has ALS. And, it was hard for them to see him go from being able to talk to now not being able to, and just like the changes that have happened with her dad. It's just a lot. It really is a lot for Sarah to handle. And I'm like, I hope that Matt realizes that if you do choose Sarah, like, yes, she comes with a lot and you will have to mentally be able to prepare for that. But in the end, because Sarah, she opened up to him and told him about her dad, he ended up giving her rose. And after that, we were, back with all the ladies. They are dressed in their gowns. So it was the night of the rose ceremony. And as you know, they get a couple of minutes, to work the room and talk to Matt. So we end up seeing Matt talk to Abigail. And, he feels like she's super sweet and he's comfortable when he talks to her. He really likes Abigail. And I like Abigail. I think she's a really sweet girl. She seems to have a great personality. We also see him talk to maybe like 4 other ladies. I know one of them was Chelsea and another one was Maggie, but this is where things just, it went left. So we see him have a conversation with Marilyn, and, she's like, I'm a little bit stressed because I'm not getting any dates. And it's like, does he like me? Does he not like me? And I'm like, girl, you've watched this show before. You should know the process. But whatever. He ends up, giving her an orchid, though, which is her favorite flower, just to reassure her that it's not that he doesn't like her. It's just basically the way the show is set up. I have to choose certain girls. So, she comes out of the room. She's like, yeah, I just had a great conversation with him. He gave me this orchid, which is my favorite flower. She's happy about this. Oh, we already know. Victoria is not happy. Baby girl gets crazy eyes and she goes in to talk to Matt. And when I tell y'all she lied her ass off on Marilyn, she lied her ass off. Like, she literally went in there and was like, she has been bullying me. She's been doing all these things to me. I had to sleep on the couch because we were roommates. And oh my God, Matt, I didn't want to bring this up to you, Matt, because I just really want things to go smoothly, Matt. I'm just like, oh my gosh, she is white womaning this situation. She is going to make it seem like everyone is against her. I don't like Victoria. I do not like Victoria. I hate when people sit up there and stir the pot and then decide, oh, I'm going to go ahead and blame everyone else. I don't like Victoria. So now we have Matt. He wants to figure out what's going on, and he goes and calls Marilyn back into the room. And he's like, well, I talked to Victoria and she said that you were doing all these things to her. And Marilyn is like, what do I have to do to prove to you that I didn't do anything? Like, I did not, bully her. I didn't do any of those things. But while this is happening, we see that Victoria, she's out here talking to the rest of the girls, and she's like, yeah, I just had to tell Matt what happened with me and Marilyn because she's just so toxic. I mean, like, she's so toxic. Like, I feel like she said the word toxic at least 50 times. And, like, all the ladies are like, that's not Marilyn's personality. What are you talking about? Like, did you have to bring this up now? Because now you have all this drama going. After that conversation with Marilyn, he didn't talk to the rest of the ladies. Like, I don't know where Matt went, but he didn't talk to the rest of the ladies like he should have been doing. So the other girls, they're pissed off because, again, they got no time with this man. And Victoria, she keeps, pushing her way through, and she keeps, taking up other people's time as well as lying on someone. And what really bothered me, though, is that I'm like, why didn't anyone step in? Because when she had that conversation with Marilyn, there were other girls around. So I'm like, why didn't any of y'all be like, oh, Matt, that is not what happened. That she's lying. Now let me go ahead and talk to you about me and you. You know what I mean? At least that's what I would have done. So as far as me having feelings about Victoria, clearly from the previews we see that she is staying. I did not see Marilyn, so she might not be here on the next episode. But I will say that Marilyn tried to be an adult about this entire situation. She pulled Victoria to the side and was like, hey, can we talk? Victoria's like, you can say whatever you want right in front of these other ladies. The other girls didn't want any parts of the drama, so they ended up walking away. And Marilyn is trying to conduct a conversation. And after everything she said, Victoria had something very snappy, very rude to say back to her. Like, she was just being a complete asshole. And she was very manipulative when she was talking to Marilyn. I mean, she was pretty much manipulative even when she was talking to Matt. So at this point, we're at the rose ceremony. Like, that pretty much wrapped up that night, because the other ladies were pissed because they didn't get no time with Matt. So he's, handing out roses, and he actually wasn't even able to finish because Sarah, she actually, she was having a moment. She had to go sit down, and she said that she was seeing stars. So, next episode, we're going to see what's happening with Sarah, and hopefully she is okay. That pretty much wraps up my recap of The Bachelor this episode. I am definitely rooting for Lauren and Bree, and we'll see what happens with, the rest of the season. And by the way, Victoria looked old as hell by the time we got to the end of this episode. Like, when they got to the rose ceremony, I'm like, girl, you have bags under those eyes for days. Go get you some sleep, okay? But yeah, that's pretty much it, you guys. I will see you in the next one. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.